You remember in the last preview where I talked about I'm halfway done in terms of previewing these first round games and that there was supposed to be 8 games that I am previewing? Well, it turns out I am an absolute idiot and that I didn't realize there was actually only going to be 6 games in the first round of this season MLS playoffs, and that there's going to be 4 in the next round and in the conference semifinals. So, this game, of course, is the fifth game, and that this, of course, is one of the 2 games that's going to be happening on Sunday, and that this, of course, will be the last preview that I'm going to be doing before when I do the final one, which is between the Galaxy versus Minnesota. Actually, that didn't really sound right, saying that this is the last preview when there actually is one more. But before, of course, I get to this matchup, which I'm actually very intrigued about this matchup because of the fact that, both of these teams, they definitely do not like each other because of the fact that both of these teams are very close proximity to each other. Some people even call this the I-95 Derby because I-95 is what separates Philly and New York. And, the other thing that is interesting about this match is that I think this might be the most unpredictable playoff match. And that I know I say that for DC versus Toronto, but I really think this is a very unpredictable matchup. Consider of the last 5 match that both of these teams are coming in, the head-to-head, and also in terms of just overall the structure of both of these teams. But of course, we will get to that, and that before I of course gets to the stats leader, just want to quickly say that I am not going to be doing a news of the week video this week because there wasn't really a lot of big news that happened this week, and it's not a big surprise that there isn't really a lot of big news that was worthy to talk about since it is the international break, and that usually when MLS goes through the international break, there usually doesn't produce a lot of big kind of news for me to kind of worthy to talk about, and that this week, of course, was no exception. The other thing I will also say is that I'm not going to do a reaction video in terms of the U.S. losing 2-0 to Canada, which, by the way, I actually didn't watch that match because when the game started, I was still at work, and also I was so busy in since I was so busy in these last couple of days, I haven't got a chance to watch a lot of soccer whatsoever, and that is one of the reasons why I'm not doing a reaction video. But the other reason why I'm not doing a reaction video is basically what I'm going to say in that reaction video will basically be almost the same what I said 2 years ago. After when the U.S. of course lost to Trinidad and Tobago in that infamous game, and in a game that is known as probably the darkest time in U.S. men's national team history, and the game that of course missed the World Cup for us, and that the only thing I will say is that it's hard to believe that 2 years later this team is still suffering the same issue that plagued them 2 years ago, and that even with the change of leadership at the top of the federation, still hasn't really made this team moving forward, which it's get to a point where I think the only way that this national team can be competitive again, and the only way that this team will not have these kind of losses against much inferior opponent is they just completely have to nuke the federation. I mean, just completely eliminate everybody and start from scratch, because as long as if we have the same kind of leadership that we have right now and same kind of model that is going on with the player pool and the whole pay to play system that is going on, we're just going to continue to see these kind of resort. And it's also getting to a point where, since I'm seeing these kind of resort always happen, it's kind of really lost my interest in terms of watching the national team, and that I kind of almost expect the fact that this team is not going to make any progress whatsoever because this federation, all they care about is making money, and that they're not even doing a very successful way to make money by just just decided to put out just such a bad kind of product that nobody really kind of watches whatsoever. So, yeah, I don't really need to say any more about the state of the U.S. Soccer Federation, and that if you want to kind of get my reaction to that embarrassing loss that the U.S. suffered to Canada, which is the first time they lost to Canada since 1985, then just watch my reaction video from 2 years ago after the US lost to Trinidad and Tobago and failed to make the World Cup. But back to this preview and talk about the stats leader in terms of both of these teams. For the Union, their top goal scorer is Kasper Schmeichel with 15 goals, and I believe he was one of the three finalists in terms of newcomer of the year. I'm not quite sure if of course, he won the award or not, but if I had to choose a newcomer of the year, I would definitely pick Kasper Schmeichel because I think he has been one of the most underrated striker in the league, and that not a lot of people talk about how this guy has really just come into the league and just becoming a true number 9 that the Union, of course, was hoping that they, of course, would get, and that I guarantee you that there are a lot of teams right now would really want a true goal scorer and a true number 9 that can produce a lot of goals in key situation, and that, you know, the Union, it's such a luxury, the fact that they, of course, will get Schmeichel, who has just been doing that throughout the year, being a number 9 that bangs in goals in crucial situation, and it's going to be interesting to see if he can, of course, continue into the postseason. Then you got the top assist leader, which is Harris Medunian with 10 assists. Top shots leader is Kasper Schmeichel again with 81 shots. Most foul committed is Alejandro Bedoya with 37 fouls committed. And in terms of goalkeeper save and shutout, Andre Blake started majority of the game, but he only started 26 out of the 34 games this season because there was a stretch where he was suffering from an injury, and that during that time it was Matt Freese and Carlos Miguel Colon now that is able to kind of share the goalkeeping duty while Blake is out. Matt Freese, of course, had 13 saves but didn't record a shutout, while Cornell had 9 saves and recorded 1 shutout during this season as the Union goalkeeper. And then Blake himself had 59 saves this season and have 3 shutouts to his name this season. Now, in terms of the Red Bulls, their top goal scorer is Daniel Royer with 11 goals. Top assist leader is actually Mark Jakowski and Daniel Royer with 8 assists, which is kind of a little bit surprising because if you would have thought that these two guys would be the top assist leader, you know, you wouldn't think that, of course, would be the case. You would think maybe Kaku would be the top assist leader for the Red Bulls because he seems like the playmaker to this team, but nope, instead it's Jakowski and Royer that has really stepped up that road, and both of these guys have 8 assists apiece to their name. In terms of top shots leader, it's Daniel Royer with 85 shots, and most foul committed, Christian Casillas Jr. with 52 fouls committed. That leads the team in terms of the most foul that is committed. Goalkeeper saves and shutout. Believe it or not, Luis Robles actually didn't start every single game. For the past couple of years, that of course was the case, and that he actually had a streak, I believe, around like 160 plus games without actually missing a game, and that this year was the year that unfortunately that Iron Man streak broke, and that he started all but 1 game this season, and that the only game he missed was started by Ryan Marea, who had 4 saves and no shutout during that game, while Luis Robles had 86 saves this season and 9 shutout to his name so far in the regular season. Now, in terms of the last 5 matches, this is where I, of course, will get to the fact that why there's really not much to separate between both of these teams. But because when you look at these last 5 matches for both of these teams, their records in terms of the last 5 matches is basically the same. For Philly, they lost 2-1 to NYCFC on the road in the last game, then lost 2-0 to Columbus on the road. They did win 2-1 on the road against the Quakes, but lost 2-0 to the Red Bulls in the last meeting between both of these teams. And then they, of course, drew 1-1 against LAFC. Now, for the Red Bulls, they lost 3-0 to Montreal on decision day, drew 0-0 in the Atlantic Club against DC United, won 2-0 against Portland in that game, while they did lose 4-2 against the Sounders on the road and lost 2-0 to Colorado in that game at home. So yeah, you know, both of these teams have lost 3 times, drew 1, and also won 1 in the last 5 matches, and that it's safe to say that both of these teams are definitely not coming into the postseason on a hot streak. In terms of head-to-head for both of these teams, this is another example of why it is unpredictable, because both of these teams have 2 wins apiece in terms of the head-to-head, and 1 game that ended in a draw. The Red Bulls, of course, won the last meeting between the Union, as I mentioned, 2-0 at home. But the Union won the early season meeting, and it was actually a come from behind victory where the Union was down 2-0, and Philly was able to come back and won 3-2. And I believe that was the Elzinho game where he completely just turned that game on its head, and that he scored like 2 goals and 1 assist in that one to, of course, lift Philly to a come from behind 3-2 victory. Then the Red Bulls did win 1-0 on the road in that prior meeting. Then in the U.S. Open Cup last year, it was the Union that was able to beat the Red Bulls to move on, I believe, the 5th round of the U.S. Open Cup up to that point. Then the only meeting that didn't feature either team win is this one between the Red Bulls versus Philly, which ended 0-0. And then if you even want to go further back to the previous meeting back in 2016, it was also a 0-0 draw between the Red Bulls and Philly. So that was the year where nobody can actually score a goal between both all of these teams when they go head to head. Now, in terms of injuries concerned for both of these teams, out for the Red Bulls is Florian Valette and Amr Tarek, while for the Union, Sergio Santos will be out for this game. And questionable in this game is Alejandro Bedoya. I think most likely he's going to be playing in this game because, as I said, when of course he went down with an injury, they said that it wasn't a very serious injury and that most likely he will be out for the decision day game, but it's unlikely the fact that he will be out for the first round of the playoff game. And it's huge, the fact that the Union is going to get Bedoya, because he is their captain and he brings a lot of leadership to this team, and that losing Bedoya is definitely not a option to have for the Union if they want to win this game, and that it's going to definitely take a bit of a blow in terms of them winning this one. Now, in terms of the home record for the Union this season, their home record is 10-4-3, while the Red Bulls' road record this season is 5-3-9, and that, when you look at this game, and like I said, with the fact that this game is very even in terms of the head-to-head, and also how both of these teams are coming into the playoffs. The other thing that I also mentioned is that tactics-wise, both of these teams are very similar. I mean, both of these teams likes to press. Both of these teams kind of likes to trying to win the ball high up the field so that they, of course, can potentially score after they, of course, lost the ball, and that both of these teams also have some defensive issue in terms of the fact that there's times where the defense for both of these teams have been very, very suspect. And that I really think if you look at a game that is very even and there's really not much to separate between both of these teams, I think the difference in this game is simply who, of course, will show up in this game and who really wants it more. And for the Union, if they want to show up in this game and win this matchup, they have to get some of their attacker to be able to sustain the form that they have been in. So, as I mentioned, Kasper Schmeichel, he needs to do what he has done throughout the regular season, which is score goals in crucial moments for this team. And then you also have to have creative guys like Medunian and also Jamel Montero continue to perform the way that they have been doing this season. And you even have to have Marco Fabian, that hopefully he will not be like a hothead doing this game, and that he, of course, will show the talent that is the reason why the Union bought him as a designated player early this season. And that defense for the Union, yeah, it definitely needs to be clean, and that I know it's a very inexperienced defense that the Union has in terms of the back line, but it's got to be something that they have to be organized, because this Red Bulls team, they also have a very good attack them on. And speaking of the Red Bulls, if they want to get this win, some of their attacker like Daniel Royer, Brian White, Jakowski, Kaku needs to, of course, step up and able to carry this team in terms of the attack. And also, same thing in the defense. That defense needs to be clean and needs to be spotty, which that's kind of surprised to saying that the Red Bulls defense needs to be very clean in this game, considering the fact that when you look at this defense that contained the likes of Tim Parkers and Aaron Long, and that these two guys a year ago were considered the best defender in this league, this season it has been a different story. I mean, they have really not looked the same. Even one of their fullback, who is considered the best fullback in the league in Kamar Lawrence, have not had a great year this season. So yeah, I mean, their fullbacks and also their center backs need to be good, and that overall their back line, of course, needs to be clean. And that, like I said, the bottom line is, I think the winner of this game is going to be the team that wants it more, and that they, of course, would show one of their sides of being a team that can compete for the playoffs. And the loser of this matchup will be the team that show their sides of the fact that there's games where they just gone cold, and that they, of course, cannot come off in the clutch. And that if I also have to make a prediction in terms of who exactly has the advantage of this game, there's no doubt I would say the Red Bulls, because one, they have more playoff experience than the Union, and two, they of course are able to at least get it done in the early round. I mean, I know there's been clutch situation that the Red Bulls have got in the playoffs, and that they of course haven't come out off the clutch in terms of moving into the next round or even going to MLS Cup, but usually they are very successful in the early rounds, and that they definitely have some difference maker that has been there before and has been able to win them games in the playoffs. They need to do the same thing in this playoff game against the Union. And let's also not forget that the Union has never won a playoff match, and I know Union fans don't want me to kind of talk about this because of the fact that it just seemed like they are a team that is cursed, but the bottom line is that is kind of a fact, the fact that they haven't won a playoff game. And as much as this is probably the best chance that they're going to get to win a playoff game, I don't know, like I'm not quite sure, like, with this team, especially when you look at the way that this team, they need to definitely learn their mistake from last year of why exactly they, of course, got eliminated in the playoffs so early against NYCFC. And that you also have some of these guys that just came into this team and haven't kind of been a very surprise package, and you can even say kind of overachieving in terms of what you thought their ability is. That also leaves you a question of the fact that, okay, yes, they're overachieving in the regular season, and they're definitely surprising people with their talent in the regular season. Now the question is, can they do it in the regular season? And since we have no kind of data of the fact that they of course have done it in the postseason, that's what makes me worry about this Union team heading into this game. But either way, I would say the Red Bulls would win this, and that I think this is only the second time I, of course, predicted that a road team is going to win in the first round of the playoffs. But like I said, I really think that the Red Bulls have that advantage because they have proven in the past that they can get it done in the first round of the playoffs. And the Union, there's still a question of whether or not if they can finally get over the hump, and that they can finally get their first ever playoff win in their franchise history after the first 3 times that they made it in the playoffs. All 3 of them resort in an elimination in the first round of the playoffs. So, yeah, either way, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of this game and your prediction in terms of this match. But, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.